This video is sponsored by the Excelsior Sporting Club, Lion Paw Security Services, and Sigma Sports Management. This is James Lupton, and I'm delighted to be joined with Anthony Phythain. Anthony, how are you, mate?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Thank you.
Good stuff. I wanted to get you on today, talk a little bit about your life. It's been a bit of a wild ride so far for yourself, ups and downs. I want to start off at the football. Firstly, what does football mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, growing up sort of like in the 80s and the 90s, you know, everyone in Manchester was football mad. Do you know what I mean? I followed the blue side, so obviously, throughout my teens and what have you, it wasn't as it is now. Let's say, you know what I mean? We was down, down the bottom end of the Premier League when it started, and then dropped down two divisions into the third tier. So, but yeah, grew up following City, followed them home and away, and it's just, it was a massive part of my life.
At the time when you sort of started going, I think it was about 9 years old when you first went to City, and there was a big, almost like fighting culture on the terraces, and obviously you got involved in that as well. What was it about that dragged you into that?
I don't really know what exactly, what the reason being, why I was drawn to it myself. Could have been a number of reasons, but at the time, I was living with my grandparents, you know what I mean, on my own, with like no other siblings with me, sort of in a red area, sort of on my own. So when I went to football, and I seen, groups of lads all sitting, and I just sort of like felt like I belonged there, and then there was just something about the excitement and the noise. I was just drawn to it, and it just sort of like gradually went from there. Obviously, you meet lads from different areas, and yeah, it just spiraled from there really. Over the years, started going with them lads. You get to know them, get to know who they are, and you start going with them, and you're becoming involved. And after a few years, you sort of up there and heavily involved with it.
Do you remember how old you was when you had your first fight at football?
I remember sort of getting involved when I was about 14. I wouldn't say I had a fight. I was sort of like just on the fringes, like probably through a bottle, or got to kick up the ass off one of the coppers, but that's about it. Yeah. And it just sort of spiraled. Probably sort of like my late teens when I started getting involved, sort of like 18, 19, and into my 20s. I'd say I was probably early 20s when I'd say in Man City's firm, yeah.
And you mentioned, they can't really pinpoint a reason as to why you sort of started or why you felt at home as such. I read an article that you said that once. You felt at home on the terraces there with your City fans, and like you say, everyone there was all there for the same reason, so you had something in common with everybody.
Yeah.
Was it a bit of a release? Was it sort of almost getting away from reality for yourself going to the football?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. I mean, it was sort of like, it was sort of like two sides, side where, I was at home a bit, a bit of a loner, not much in common with the other lads that where I was growing up. And then, so I was probably quiet, shy, and then, I'd go to football, and I just, it was a completely different persona there. It was, I was a completely different person.
When you was fighting, what did that make you feel like? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was like, it was probably just a mix of every emotion, that sort of like, could go through you. Obviously, the excitement, the fear, the adrenaline, and and the togetherness with the lads as well. It was sort of like that loyal bond, I suppose. Probably something that I'd not really felt in my life before. Where sort of like I knew where I belonged. I felt like we had something, um, just a mixture of everything really.
What's the and obviously appreciate if you don't want to share anything, don't want you to incriminate anybody at all. But what's the worst things you see on the terraces?
Um, I mean, when I was probably involved, it was always away from the terraces. Really, it was probably more like in towns and city centres. But yeah, I mean, there's been some bad things. I mean, seen a mate, I don't know, was it over the head? He was in a coma, nearly lost his life. Um, I've lost my teeth through it as well. You know what I mean? I've got scars and what have you. So yeah, it can be brutal. You know what I mean? It's not probably not all what it's made out to be on these films. People can get seriously hurt.
Did that never make you feel like you wanted to walk away when you see, for example, your friend going into a coma?
At the time, I was obviously like I was young, he was in my 20s, probably just a bit naive, probably had a lot of growing up to do. Do you know what I mean? So I mean, it wasn't nice, but there was obviously, there was something inside me that, I'd not grew up at that point.
And obviously going into you're now a professional boxer, heading into the gym, you lost a lot of weight from when you was at the football fighting to now a professional fighter. What's the differences? Do you still feel the same buzz when you're fighting in the ring, even though it's in a completely different situation and circumstances?
No, it's completely different now. It's obviously, um, it's like it's a discipline, and it's like there's nothing but respect when to my opponents when I'm in the ring, and it's just I suppose it's about staying, you staying calm, staying focused, and I suppose that's where it's helped me in my life really, you know, staying focused, staying disciplined.
How easy was that for you to get into a ring where somebody's throwing a punch at you and to not, you know, fall out of that discipline zone?
Um, yeah, I mean, listen, it still happens now, it's just I think it's just a natural instinct, to sort of like for the adrenaline to go and to let out. But I think that's where the discipline comes in. It's in boxing, if you sort of go with your head like that and start losing your rag and what have you. That's people they can make you pay. It's a skill. It's not a street brawl, and that's what I found. I'm not in there with lager louts anymore and football thugs. I'm in there with professional athletes, and I think that's the difference. You've got to keep your head switched on. You've got to stay focused.
You mentioned a moment ago there how it's sort of helped you in your life, that discipline, that routine, I suppose, as well. Just talk to me about the biggest change it's made for you in your life.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with the football, it wasn't just like, oh, yeah, I had problems with the football. I had problems growing up with drink and drugs as well. So, like I say, I did balloon up to 19 stone. Pretty unhealthy throughout my 20s. Didn't look after myself at all. So, and that spiraled into sort of, where I lost everything. Lost, I had no home. Lost, my kids and what have you. I was sort of like homeless, squatting for a while. So yeah, to sort of like maybe substituted one addiction for another, but it's a good addiction, I love now going to the gym, the way it feels, wake up fresh every morning, um, eating right. And I think yeah, it's just it's to have that focus as well. It keeps me on the right path.
Do you wish you found boxing earlier in life?
I get asked this all the time, and my life could have been a lot different if maybe I started a lot longer. But um, this was my path. This was my path. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Who's to say? I could have done something. Could have done a lot better. But there again, I might not have. And this was my path, and this was my story. This was how it was meant to be.
You mentioned it's how it's meant to be. This is your path, your journey, it's how your story's been written. Do you have any regrets looking back?
I spent nearly all my life regretting things and looking in the past. It was only sort of, 7 years ago. decided not to just not to regret anything now. What's gone is gone. Can't change the past, and I try not to worry about the future as much, as hard as it is. Just try and live my life now day by day, and I think with that, I get a lot more peace that way. I try not to regret anything now. These things I could have done. I've made massive mistakes in my life, but there's no point in sitting back and regretting it now. Just got to look forward.
You mentioned then looking forward. In terms of your boxing career, what are you hoping for in the next, say, 12 to 18 months?
I mean, I didn't think I'd still be boxing at 40 years old. So, I knew it was all going to be a short career. So at the minute, I mean, I was planning on sort of hanging the gloves up round about now. But there's a few things happened, in my life recently. It's where I've had second thoughts. I thought, maybe I do need to carry on and sort of finish what I've started. Um, so I'm hoping, to get back in the ring this year. Um, but I'll just take it from there. Probably just going to have to take it one fight at a time.
Absolutely. You mentioned obviously it's giving you discipline, it's giving you a focus. It's a new addiction for yourself. Do you think when you do hang the gloves up, you'd like to look at some sort of coaching role or stay in the sport in some way?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be good to sort of like, stay in the sport. I mean, obviously, I'm going to have to, keep looking after myself as well. I don't ever want to start taking steps backwards, because I know it can be easily be done. Um, but yeah, maybe sort of, trying to help, even not maybe the youngsters, maybe some of the older lads who sort of, got problems and got their own demons, and sort of like try and guide them as well.
Definitely. The last topic I wanted to mention is something that is, I know it's going to be close to your heart at the moment, in terms of mental health and struggles, and it's something that boxing can help with as well. I know a friend of yours recently lost his battle to his mental health and his demons, and he took his own life. Just tell me a little bit about mental health and what it means to you when someone says mental health and what boxing can do for that.
Yeah, I mean, the, especially with men at the minute, just seems to be everywhere at the minute. These men are struggling, and times are hard. And again, there's that stigma, about maybe him reaching out and just asking for a bit of help. But yeah, especially I mean, I speak to a lot of lads from football, and there's heavy drinking and there's drug taking, and I mean, no, that doesn't help either. Do you know what I mean? And definitely for me, boxing, any exercise, not just boxing, whether it's running, swimming, cycling, even just getting out in the outdoors, just getting them, them natural endorphins going, you know what I mean? And sort of like, yeah, just opening up, the, life's tough, life is hard, and it's going to be hard, it's going to be ups and downs. And just, yeah, if anyone's out there, struggling, just reach out, you know what I mean? Because, like I say, it's there's no problem, there's no problem that can't really be solved, and we don't want people taking, making a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Um, and it's sort of, people when they do take their own lives, it just leaves a lot of heartbreak for the family, and it's sort of like just passes it on, really. I suppose passes the pain on to the relatives. You know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one for blokes at the minute to come out and speak about, I suppose.
No, definitely. Well, Anthony, I want to thank you for your time today. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. And if you do get back in the ring, all the best of luck.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.